Hello, I'm Carol Subino-Sullivan from Georgia Tech's Center for Teaching and Learning. I was one of 3 facilitators of a faculty learning community on teaching with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, that met in fall 2021. Educators from both Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State University participated in this multi-institutional learning community. In this community, we work to expand our shared understanding of education for sustainable development and the UN SDGs by building a library of resources and learning from each other's expertise and experience. Each participant in the community worked to advance a personal project, often course or curricular integration of one or more SDGs. In this video, some members of the faculty learning community will share their insights into teaching with the SDGs. We will explore how the SDGs align with and can be considered a high-impact practice. Finally, we will share some tools you can use to incorporate the SDGs into your own teaching context.
Before we share some specific examples, I'll provide a brief intro to the SDGs and education for sustainable development. The UN Foundation describes the SDGs as the world's shared plan to end extreme poverty, reduce inequality, and protect the planet by 2030. There are 17 SDGs, each with specific targets, and Education for Sustainable Development, or ESD, provides a framework for teaching with the SDGs. ESD is holistic and transdisciplinary, challenging us to step outside our disciplines and include expertise outside the academy. It also challenges us to imagine the big picture learning outcomes we want students to carry into other courses and their professional lives. ESD is meant to be transformative, so practicing it means incorporating values, attitudes, knowledge, and skills that empower our students to transform society to be more equitable and sustainable. Next, we'll discuss some connections between the SDGs and HIPs.
High-impact teaching practices consist of 11 teaching and learning practices with demonstrated positive impact on student learning. Perhaps the most obvious alignment is with diversity in global learning, as the issues raised by the SDGs touch every part of the globe and especially impact the most vulnerable communities. However, the SDGs are well aligned with all of these practices because engaging students in education for sustainable development demands active application. The SDGs impact communities globally and must be addressed collaboratively, making them well suited for service and community-based learning and collaborative assignments and projects. The SDGs are transdisciplinary, making them ideal for first-year seminars, learning communities, and common intellectual experiences across the disciplines. They also provide an opportunity for students to produce writing and other communication for authentic audiences. The SDGs lend themselves to applied opportunities such as capstone experiences, undergraduate research, and internships. And if threaded throughout a curriculum, they provide a through line for e-portfolios that help students demonstrate their readiness to engage in sustainability in future professional contexts.
Now that you've been introduced to ESD, the SDGs, and their relationship to HIPs, I'd like to orient you to the written guides we provided to help you incorporate the SDGs into your courses. Begin with Intro to ESD and the SDGs. The first 2 sections build on the brief intro we provided in this video and provide links to great resources. The final part helps you think through alternatives for bringing the SDGs into your course. The SDG Student Learning Objective, or SLOW worksheet, will help you bring together core course and SDG SLOWs. It will also help you align your course with ESD principles. And if you'd like a deeper dive into building effective learning objectives, the SDG Course Design Guide will help you craft SLOWs that are student-centered, action-oriented, measurable, and precise. And next, we'll hear from a diverse group of instructors about their approaches teaching with the SDGs.
The SDGs provide that framework for connecting social imperatives within a scientific context. This is a pedagogy of educating a generation of scientists, scholars, and all stakeholders who can address these grand global challenges. This work directly relates to goals 5, gender equality, and 10, reduced inequalities. Why is this so important? Because exposure to sustainability education through the SDGs is a means to broaden participation, increase retention, and create opportunities for females and other historically underrepresented groups to contribute and excel in the STEM fields.
Chemical engineering lies at the heart of our energy and materials use, as it is the discipline most closely associated with the enormous scale of using fossil resources, such as natural gas and crude oil. Endeavors to re-engineer our materials and energy production will need to be guided by sustainability principles that are broad and which can drive us to find solutions that are less likely to repeat previous missteps. Our chemical engineering students are not systematically exposed to the concepts of sustainability in our curriculum. It seemed important to me to connect sustainability concepts to concrete goals for our action-oriented students. That is why I proposed to integrate the SDGs across the chemical engineering curriculum in our core courses, and not just in one options course that might or might not be taken by our students.
In my Digital Threats to Democracy projects, we track, analyze, and respond to social media myths and disinformation and hate speech during elections in emerging and at-risk democracies. Recently, working with our partners, we have concentrated on elections in Myanmar and Ethiopia, and this year we might even do research on social media usage during the midterm elections here in the USA. Goal number 16 is being asked to do a lot of work, with many issues packed into it. Peace, physical security, rule of law, good governance, and on it goes. So goal number 16 comes up often in my teaching and research. But that's just the point with the SDGs. Their very nature means they are going to pop up just about everywhere. They are global, universal, indivisible. They can offer us all helpful guidance, shared framing, and common purpose.
Early in my teaching career, I observed some unstructured content that built traction around SDGs in my courses. So I intended to turn it into structured content. Practically, I intended to integrate it as part of my module learning outcomes. First, I studied the spectrum of students in terms of their traction rates. For every new concept, including every SDG, you may have a different spectrum of tractions, namely early adopters, mainstream, downstream, and laggers. But this is subjective to the traction channel, i.e. learning environment. Laggers may turn out to be early adopters if the traction channel is engaged at the right time. So I needed to find which traction channel is working the best to trigger early engagement. Then I could include it in my module workflow. In every module, I needed to design a learning experience that gives each of my students an equal and inclusive chance, what I now name the 5-call method. On mobile learning reports, in-class formative practices, focus group discussions, self-reflection, and summative assessment.
Hello everyone, I'm Andrew Schultz, a PhD candidate at Georgia Tech in mechanical engineering. I work to utilize the SDGs to teach a project-based course focused on interdisciplinary teams solving conservation biology challenges using engineering. Students work together on a project focusing on creating automated feeders that are used to identify and vaccinate urban fox populations from rabies right here on Georgia Tech's campus. Students deployed camera traps throughout the school's campus to help them learn about conservation and urban wildlife. The primary themes that helped this project success included hands-on team project experiences, exposure to new novel types of research, eye-opening perspectives into their majors, and finally connections among varying disciplines. Overall, adding the SDGs into a course in a project-based setting allows students to just see how many challenges can be solved using their undergraduate degrees if they work together. I encourage you to incorporate the SDGs into your courses wherever and whatever you teach.
Using the SDGs as a framework for learning is a high-impact practice because it requires that students make connections between course content and important societal and environmental challenges. I teach cell and molecular biology, a course that's a prerequisite for many upper-level classes and is content-heavy. I am creating SDG-related learning outcomes for each class period, which is easier than it seems. For example, in a lesson on cell signaling, I can incorporate goal number 5, gender equality, by having my students find research articles about cell signaling written by women. For a lesson on culturing and visualizing cells, I can incorporate goal number 6, clean water and sanitation, by having students investigate how laboratory reagents contribute to waste streams. Using the SDGs requires my students think deeply about how their professional work intersects with the larger world.
Sustainable Development Goals changed my teaching by expanding the concept of HIPs to show students their work goes far beyond their academic careers. As an English and writing professor, I've had editing students collaborate with young immigrants to write and publish their resettlement stories, addressing SDGs such as reduced inequality and sustainable cities and communities. I've developed educational materials for returning citizens and previously incarcerated individuals, where students joined in these learning spaces and noted the impact and value of quality education to support good jobs and economic growth. 2 other critical SDGs. SDGs, especially when taught using HIPs, have shown my students that they are the much-needed leaders of tomorrow who will be prepared to address urgent community and societal concerns locally and around the world. Students consistently show more engagement in their coursework and learning while engaging in meaningful, collaborative work.
Well, hi, everybody. Rich Halstead-Nusslock here. I'm professor of Information Technology, or IT, at Kennesaw State. I included an SDG focus as one of my 6 options for the final project in 3 different recent graduate IT classes, having 161 students. So this graph shows my observation of the level of the students' free choice engagement with sustainability. As you can see, roughly 4 of every 5 students did not choose the SDG option, with most of those effectively ignoring it. Of those having a sustainable IT project or a sustainability IT project, 1/3 explicitly worked on an SDG, while 2/3 incorporated sustainability into, for example, a healthcare IT project. Now, to me, this is good news in that sustainability is competitive for the so-called mind share of our students.
Hi, this is Raghu Pucha from School of Mechanical Engineering at Georgia Tech. I have integrated SDGs in freshman engineering design course using socio-technical project-based learning. This approach engages students with SDG-focused design projects and allows combining the concept, context, and authentic activity in students' learning for socially constructed discipline knowledge. It takes learning beyond the classroom with powerful sense of purpose and make the learning environment an inclusive space for students to solve community problems. For example, in this course, student individual projects address responsible consumption and environmental sustainability in product design. And the team projects consider design of large engineering structures with variety of SDG themes. Integrating SDGs also helps students learn sustainability system thinking skills and help students understand the environmental, social, and cultural impact of their professional practice.
The faculty members from Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State whom you've just heard from are using the SDGs in unique ways across many disciplines in an effort to empower students at our institutions to consider how they can contribute to equitable and sustainable development. I'm Mandy McGrew with the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning at KSU. As you consider how you might begin teaching with the SDGs, we invite you again to apply the worksheets mentioned earlier to your own courses. Please complete handouts 1 and 2 and bring them to the synchronous session on Thursday, March 24th. Join us then to ask questions about anything our FLC members have shared in this video. You can talk with your peers about your experience using the handouts. And also let us know what kinds of additional resources would help you incorporate the SDGs into your teaching. We'll also share information about a new opportunity and how you can join a new multi-institutional community of practice for instructors working with the SDGs. On behalf of my colleagues at Kennesaw State and Georgia Tech, thank you for your interest in teaching with the SDGs. We look forward to seeing you at the synchronous session on March 24th.